I see it starting to look all the rest of the
Looking for made in Montana food products? Look no further than Town and Country Foods of Dillon.
Plan to attend the 3rd Annual Dillon History Days, July 22nd through the 24th in Dillon, Montana. Fun for everyone, including vendors, live music, historic plays, a barbecue cook-off, and more. Brought to you by the Dillon, Montana Community Foundation. See you in Dillon.
Looking for made in Montana food products? Look no further than Town and Country Foods of Dillon.
Plan to attend the 3rd Annual Dillon History Days, July 22nd through the 24th in Dillon, Montana. Fun for everyone, including vendors, live music, historic plays, a barbecue cook-off, and more. Brought to you by the Dillon, Montana Community Foundation. See you in Dillon.
for made in Montana food products? Look no further than Town & Country Foods of Dillon.
Plan to attend the 3rd annual Dillon History Days, July 22nd through the 24th in Dillon, Montana. Fun for everyone, including vendors, live music, historic plays, a barbecue cook-off, and more. Brought to you by the Dillon, Montana Community Foundation. See you in Dillon.
It's 7 o'clock. Call in to order the regular council meeting for July 20th, 2022. First order of business, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first of all, if it's not on the agenda, it's public comment. We can sit and listen to you, but we cannot enter into discussion or make decisions. We can ask clarifying questions, but that's it. So, first order of business, the minutes. Approve June 15th, 2022 regular minutes as amended.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Russ, seconded by Don. Any other comments?
Seeing none, we'll call for question.
Okay, question's been called for. All in favor of approving the June 15th, 2022 regular council minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. No, they pass unanimously. Second, approve the July 6th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Russ, seconded by Dan.
Seeing none, I'll call for question.
Okay, question's been called for to approve the July 6, 2022 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, July 6 minutes passed unanimously. No petitions or communications, then on to the mayor's report. First one, approve the agreement between the City of Dillon and the Police Officers Association.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ. I have one thing, they've asked to make it a 1-year contract instead of a 2-year contract. So where every place you see June 30th, 2024 would be June 30th, 2023. It should be on the very front page, would be changed. The very first page in there, about the second line would have been changed from June 30th to 2024 to 2023, and on the very last, that'd be page 14 and 15, or they changed it.
We need to move to change it to a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Raymond, seconded by Dan to move it to a 1-year contract instead of a 2-year contract.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I just had a couple of questions. I don't have any problems with the raises that went into effect last year or this year. And I don't, even though every time we change that schedule, it changes everything. It changes comp time, it changes sick time, it changes everything, and we have to be aware of that. What I worry about is our ability to keep a police force at the same level over as years go by, and as we go up those steps, and and assuming that we at least do 4%, if not more, raises per year. So the two places that give me heartburn when I read this agreement, and especially when I compare it to last year's agreement, are, the first one in terms of health insurance. Our health insurance is broken out where the city pays 90%, the employee pays 10%. Then this is an incredibly great plan that the city offers in that you're allowed to put your spouse on the plan and you're allowed to put your children on the plan. But it maintains that 10-90%. The employee pays 10% for their spouse or 10% for their children, and the city covers the other 90%. I don't have any concerns. I mean, I think we should cover it at that level for the employee. Where I have some heartburn is that the rate our health insurance is going up is we need to spread that liability out. And one of the ways we can do it is by having the employee pay 25% of the insurance, and the city pays 75% of the insurance for the employee's spouse and for their children. So that's one of my concerns, and I would hope that the city would think about that. The other heartburn that I have in this agreement is that there is a thing in here that says right here, sick leave, and I'm looking at page 5 of 15 under sick leave number 1, and it's the last 2 sentences. Sick leave credits may be accumulated without restriction as to the number of days. Sick leave credits shall be earned at the rate of 12 working days for each year of service. That's a very reasonable amount. What concerns me is that you can accumulate those sick leave days without any maximum, without any top. So that, say you didn't take sick leave, say you are one of those people who are blessed with health and you work for the city for 30 years and you don't take your sick leave and you work for 30 years and I'm not even going to put the steps in there where you accumulate more than the 12 working days each year. But say you do that, you end up with, where did I do my math? You could end up with a total of 2,400 weeks of the city would have 2,400 weeks of unpaid sick leave that they would need to pay out to the employee upon retirement. I mean, it's one of those things where there just isn't a limit. There is no maximum limit.
Did you review item number 3?
Let me see. Yeah. When an employee voluntarily terminates.
Retires. Or quits, either one.
Okay, so when I thought this was just when he voluntarily goes to another job, but this includes retirement too. So they're paid out at the 1 quarter mark.
Mm-hmm.
Say somebody leaves the city involuntarily. What happens then?
Well, I don't know, Mr. Mayor, do you?
I think sick time's always paid out 1 quarter time,
Even when they leave involuntarily?
so vacation time is built up, sick time is 1 quarter time.
Is there any maximum hours that can be accrued for, so you can,
I think their intent is actually to reward an employee for not using sick leave. If if you have an employee, or your employer, you work 30 years and never took a sick leave, I think the intent of paying them one quarter time is like giving them a pat on the back and saying thank you.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. I guess I just,
That has been traditionally done, and I almost want to say, I'm not going to go out to ask the attorney, but I think that's actually based on state law.
The pay
Yes,
the quarter out?
having to pay out,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I,
having to pay out sick leave.
The
It's
quarter time.
considered earned income.
Okay. What my concern is that there isn't a maximum number of hours that can be accrued. And so you have you have a liability that you don't know what that liability is.
I'll take that up with the state legislature.
No, that's a city accounting thing right now.
No, it is a state law.
No, it isn't a state law. It's a, so how do I explain this to you? If you don't know what that liability is going to be, if you don't have a maximum number of hours that somebody can accumulate, whether that maximum number of hours might be 1,000 hours or 2,000 hours, there is usually a cap so that you can at least guesstimate what your bills might be in the future.
A rough calculation shows for Donnie Giverson, 25 years of service, getting 12 days of sick leave a year, those entire 25 years never using any, he would have accumulated 300 sick days, which is about 60 weeks.
And he gets paid a quarter of that.
Correct.
He get paid out a quarter of that, yeah.
So-
That is current rate of pay, I mean, retires.
So if you worked here 25 years,
He could bank 60 weeks of sick leave. I don't know if they share sick leave back and forth, university, something like cancer or something, I don't know. You know, the college can do that, you can give some of your hours to somebody else.
We do when we have.
Okay.
the other part of that is concerning to me is that you can earn sick leave, and this is just a what if, you can earn sick leave making $22 an hour. And then 25 years later, when you're paid out at your retirement wage.
At a quarter of the rate.
Right, at a quarter, right, 25 cents on the dollar, I know. And I guess I've always thought that it would be better to raise that amount, raise that percentage, but have a maximum on the total number of days.
Here's just a couple quick things. This is pretty standardized. It's been in this since I've been a police officer, and it's pretty much nation or statewide, for the whole state of Montana. This is almost identical as Bozeman, Butte, so.
We've never wanted to copy Bozeman. You hear that a lot. I guess those are my two things, is that I am concerned that the department is rushing toward, or that we will come to a different conclusion within 5 years.
I'm concerned as well. It's a very inherently dangerous job, and these guys put their lives on the line every day for $22 an hour.
I agree.
I hate to put a scenario on this, but what if we have an officer that's been on for 20 years, and God forbid that there's a shooting and he gets shot? What other income does he have? What we're doing is we're backing them up. If there is an injury, they lose a year's time because they got to recoup and things like that. They're covered. I mean, we got to look at our officers do a heck of a job, I think.
That's
And we
not-
got to protect them somehow. And that's one way of protecting them.
I agree. Can the city afford that?
Can the city afford to not have the officers? Number one question, they don't get paid a lot. They can almost go to McDonald's and get pretty close to the same wage. And then you want to take benefits away from them. So I got one question here. You said cut it from 90 to 75%. With your math, what does that say to the city of Dearborn?
That's a different question.
It's the same question. What does it say to the city per year? So let's pay these guys $22 an hour and make them pay an extra $500 a month for insurance. They're not going to be here. They're going to be in Butte, they're going to be in Miles City, they're going to be somewhere else where they can make a living wage. Simple as that. You got to pay the people if you want them to stay.
And can I make a comment? Am I allowed to say something?
Use the microphone.
Can you use? Sure. State your name so people get it on the
My
record.
name's Officer Jared Rumsey. I'm an officer with the Dillon Police Department. I've been with the police department for 4 years now. It's sad that I am actually one of the 3 senior officers on our department, followed up by the chief, and even the assistant chief has less time than the 3 patrol officers, senior patrol officers. Every one of our other officers is got less time on than myself, Officer Chernez, and then Officer Pedersen. And we're trying to keep a good police force that wants to serve this community. And I think that we have a really good group of guys, but the sad thing is Dillon is starting to become a stepping stone because people move here and no one in our department starting out at $20 an hour can afford to buy a house. They can barely afford rent. Most of the officers have to live paycheck to paycheck, but yet we still come to work every day. We show up on every holiday. We work a 24-hour schedule. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you compare us to even our local sheriff's department, who has a lower call volume, takes on less cases per year, doesn't provide 24-hour coverage, and they start out right now at $23.50 an hour, and it's on good information that I have that they just are getting approved to move up to a starting wage of $25 an hour and 30 cents. And so you talk about wanting to keep officers. Well, how expensive is it for every officer you guys have to send through the academy, or every officer that we lose, or when we have to cover overtime shifts because we have to fill spots because we can't have officers on the department? So I don't think we're asking for much, but the fire chief brought up the question. It's just going to get to a point where if we can't live on the salary that we have here, what can we do? And I think that we all want to stay with the city. We really like the city, and I think the officers that are on the department now are committed to being on the department. But at some point, it's just going to force people's hand. If you want to survive here, you want to buy a house, you want to have a family, it costs money. And I think everybody in this room has probably felt the effects of inflation. I mean, everything has gone up in money. Everything has gone up in cost. And all we're trying to do is stay afloat so that way we can afford our necessities that we need. So that's all I'd have to say.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to accept the agreement, one-year agreement between the City of Dillon and the Police Association.
Do that in 2 votes.
We have to do it in two.
Yes, yeah, but then the other
On the amendment.
Okay, vote to accept the agreement between the City of Dillon and the Dillon City Police Officers Association. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. You get it back.
Clarify, that was for the 1 year
What one?
to amend?
Amend, go for the amendment.
Close.
We'll vote for the amendment. Okay. Now, we're going to vote to approve the agreement between the Dillon City Police and the City of Dillon and the Dillon Police Officers Association of Montana. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign? Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
So we have a 1-year agreement with the police department. Thank you, guys. Okay, next. This approve the agreement between the City of Dillon and Dillon City employees.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ, to approve the agreement between the City of Dillon and the Dillon City employees. Discussion.
Page 13.
Page 13, I called Rep, he got page 13 corrected, and also the numbering.
Numbering's good. We just gotta insert that, please.
Yep, as soon as I seen that, we got it, and he sent it back, came back late to get changed in there, so.
See, I do read. Thanks, library.
So, so once it goes on the public knowledge out there, it'll have F on it.
We're back to the page numbering again too. On addendum A, it says page 15 and 14.
Yep, you got that.
Yeah, he got that.
So, yeah, you got that fixed as well. Numbering, so it'll, when it'll be come out, it'll be 15 to 15.
Okay, I was saying this is supposed to be the final, that's what I was.
On it.
Now, it should be pointed out to the council as well, we're currently working on the preliminary budget. If it shows up in the budget that we can't support what we've got, and these contracts are part of it, we've got the right to go back and renegotiate the parts that are causing us pain. So this isn't a total final, this is all it's ever going to be type thing. You do have the right to renegotiate those parts that are troublesome. I've never seen it done, but there is the provision that we can. Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to accept the agreement between the city of Dillon and the Dillon city employees with F included and the numbering corrected on when we put it out. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Passes unanimously. Next item, the discussion and approval of the resolution of the City of Dillon adopting the specific amendments to the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
Move to approve.
It's been moved by Russ, seconded by Dan.
Call for the question.
Okay, question has been called for to accept the resolution of the City of Dillon adopting the specific amendments to the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. It passes unanimously. Okay. On to the reports of officers and boards of the city. First, Library Board. Diane Armstrong's our councilman. We have our director, Lori Candery, also here. I pronounced that last one right?
Nope. Nope.
How does?
Kennedy.
Kennedy? So which one wants to go?
I'll go.
So, good evening. I would like to take the opportunity to address the council with some issues that have come up recently. In our last meeting on June 24th, the Dillon Public Library was called the bastard child of the city. And it was alluded to through discussion that I could quite possibly sell marijuana out of the backyard of the library. My staff and I are completely offended by this. I, as the library director, have been respectful to the city and this community. I've always stayed within my budget while working tirelessly to create a wonderful, enriching environment inside and outside the library. I'd like to ask some of you, when was the last time you had the opportunity to utilize the library and all of its services? It is insulting to my staff and I to hear that the library is referred to as the bastard child of the city. The library is at the heart of this community. The library has a great history. Harriet Beecher Stowe, Andrew Carnegie, C.S. Hare, B.F. White have all colorful history related to our library. I'm wondering if you know these names. I'm wondering if you know that we were the first Carnegie Library in the state of Montana. Our library will celebrate its 120th anniversary this year. We are planning a celebration to commemorate this momentous occasion. The accomplishment is something that everybody should be proud of in this community. The library supports local businesses and community members. We're not just books. We are an information center, a safe place for wayward travelers, a place for new families and old friends to connect. Over half of our community has library cards. We get visitors from all over the world, even in Europe and everywhere else, because they heard about our library from somebody. At our library, you can check out books, audiobooks, movies, Chromebooks, iPads, hotspots. We've even provided hotspots and Chromebooks for Ski Patrol and other nonprofit organizations so that they could run their Zoom meetings, especially during COVID. We have homeschool children and their parents, our local school districts, and the college all use our library regularly for studying and research. Approximately 120 people pass through our library doors daily, and we're very proud of this. We regularly collaborate with other nonprofits on events that benefit our community. Our Dudley Parton Imagination Library serves multiple children ages 0 to 5, providing them with free books once a month, courtesy of the Friends of the Library and United Way and the Dillon Public Library. We have a backpack program that we have collaborated with Patagonia Outlet, and we provide trail maps created by the Trails Coalition, Southwest Bike Montana. In the backpack are binoculars, retractable fishing poles, maps of local flora and fauna, and even free passes to Glacier National Park. We also collaborated this last year and have a continuing collaboration with the college, the elementary school, and the 8th graders. And we made a book. They wrote a book and they illustrated this book. And I mean, I just am so proud of these kids for being able to do this, along with the library.
Lori, are you talking about the library in totality, or are you talking about what happened since your last report? This is not a place for pontification about the library. We all know it's wonderful, but that needs to be agendized.
I just want to finish.
Quickly.
Our library is the only entity within our community that has a oh, we read that, okay. Oh yes, no we didn't. That promotes program for children ages 0 to 3 to eliminate the 30 million word gap. We're also the only entity in our community that has a summer reading program to help eliminate the summer reading slide that occurs for many students. And we are promoters of school readiness. I realize that you guys have a hard job on the council at times, and the decisions you make affect our entire community. For example, the street project that is currently taking place. And all the downtown businesses were told at one time that 2 streets at a time would be under construction to reduce any negative impact on our local businesses. A library patron last week said that they were disappointed to hear it inferred as the street and alley committee meeting that there were members who admitted to not reading the contract for the project, as it would put them to sleep. Personally, I wasn't there, but I wasn't completely surprised that the contract hadn't been read in its entirety, because when we wrote the memorandum of understanding, and it followed the Montana Code annotated for the Montana state law requirements for libraries, which I gave you all, there appeared to be really only one council member who read the entire contract while researching the codes, and that was George, and I'd like to thank him for his diligence on that. The library staff works hard to make the library the best library in Montana, and we have been awarded that honor for 2 years in a row. Again, we're proud of that. Never has the library received a congratulations or acknowledgement for this honor from our community, from our council and our city. We have continued to strive for the best library in America, and one day we will achieve this honor. It is really always going to be our goal. The Memorandum of Understanding states in its contact multiple times that the library employees are, in fact, city employees of Dillon. I've been informed that there were no raises this year. I was told that we might be able to get an extra $1,000 from the city if we ask. However, I was recently informed that city council employees were approved a 5% wage increase. However, this increase excluded the library employees. The lack of respect and courtesy given to the library and its employees during the time is disheartening. We appreciate, by the way, mine make $11 an hour, so try living on that wage, I guess. We appreciate any support given to the library by the council members. It shows a genuine interest in our community and the library, and we really do appreciate your support. We all know that good libraries, good school districts, and good hospitals are a direct reflection on how well a town functions for its existing community members and the future of community members. So I'm going to close with this. Ignorance is a choice, and it's a growing epidemic in our society. When one makes choices, such as to not read packets, contracts, documents, that would benefit our community as a whole, I ask what makes one qualified to make decisions that impact the community as a whole? It's disappointing that it is hitting so close to home in a time when things in our world are already chaotic. I appreciate your time. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to, I want you to know that you make this one, you
Mary Jo?
as an entity make this
Mary Jo,
something.
it has to be clarifying questions. It's not a discussion or comments back to her. It's public to it. It's not on the agenda. We can ask clarifying questions if it's not on our agenda.
This isn't the library board.
But this packet was handed to us right now.
I'm not looking at it.
Oh, that packet is just the Montana Code
Okay.
Annotated Laws. That doesn't have anything to do with this.
I just wanted to tell you that you make Dillon a very livable city. Thank you.
John, were you allowed to talk?
Yeah, you can make comments.
Okay. Hopefully I don't go too long, Mr. Hand, and you don't shut me down.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
You know, I want to say first, I was very impressed with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for passing for the police force, because they damn sure deserve it. My brother's a detective for years, and they have a hard job out there, so thank you for that. Talking about the library, I was probably like you, Mr. Hand. I didn't really care for the library because I was ignorant to the fact. I did not know what a library did until I met Lori. I did not know the community, what they do for the community. For the teens, they go out there, they do navigation, paintballing, tubing, movie theaters. The kids, they get to bring in these little kids and read to them with the parents. They got all this stuff they do. No wonder Library of the Year. God bless her, you know, and her staff. That's an amazing thing to do. And to sit here and give the rest of the state or the city raises and exclude them is not correct. You must look at everything as a whole, not just a part. And what you guys are doing, I hope you do the right thing, because I would really like to ask you guys, what have you done for our community besides tear up the streets and destroy the businesses in town, in tourist season to boot? We have to look at our community and our children for our future. Our children have a place to go. They have a place to attend during summertime. They have a place to grow and be with their families and be with other kids. We don't want to take that away. We need more of that and more support. And the library is not very well funded. Probably defunded like the police and every place. We need to fund the library. Lori goes out with her staff and continually tries to get grants, continually tries to get money so they can do these things for the children. Not all people are rich. A lot of people don't have the money. That's why she has backpacks, so they can go do things. That's why she pays for all this stuff, so they can do things in the community. God bless them. We're a community here. We're Dillon. We don't need to be like the rest of the country. Let's take care of our own and not make this a bandage. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
My name is Gerald Penn. I'm a concerned citizen. Couple things, if I may be so bold to ask you a question. This last MOU with the library, it designated them as a city employee, am I correct?
They've always been employees of the city.
This last MOU.
They've always been kind of considered that, so. But it's time for comment, it's not for question and
I know,
answer.
I'm just saying, it leads on to other comments I have, because I'm a man of the written word. If it's written, it has to be obeyed. So if they're part of the city, then according to their bylaws, which one of your members have signed, are part of their board, the bylaw says the budget is presented, not presented and voted upon. It's presented to the council. My understanding is June 13th, the budget was presented and denied, which includes the raises out of their own budget. There's some sticky situations going on here because you guys denied their raise when they're trying to budget for it, but then you guys are not budgeting under your city budget for them also. It's been brought to my attention, I'm not going to be named no names, because I'm not that kind of guy. But the union president was informed by the city council, a member of the city council, that if the library would be part of the union, they would deny the contract. I caution you on this, because and you have a judge sitting over here, that's liability. If you use any arbitrary discrimination on somebody trying to become union, it will be held against you in a court. And 99.9 of them have lost. And also, if you consider them a city employee, why was the 5% raise all city employees except the library? Wording means a lot, guys. Read the bylaws that you guys helped write for the library board. Wording means everything.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll talk with Lori and see if we want to go on, put it on the agenda for next week, or next council meeting to talk about this more.
Mr. Mayor, shouldn't this be referred to the Finance Committee? They're working on the preliminary budget now, and isn't that where the discussion should take place?
Probably the Friday is the finance meeting.
We were handed basically a budget and said, we'll give you $1,000 maybe. And we have to work within our current budget that we have. I've had to cut things so that I can move my employees up, because at the beginning of this, the base wage for the employees for the city was $11.54 an hour. And I moved my employees up to reflect that, and I was denied. So we've been trying to work through this for the last month and a half, 2 months. And it's just been an escalation of issues, and then I was told that there's nothing. I have gone to the county commissioners, and I'm filling out a petition for the county commissioners, and I was told that I don't have to fill out the petition by the county attorney, but the county commissioners want to see signatures. So we are going around and getting signatures. So stop by the library to support the library, because we can't be put on their ballot until we get signatures. So there's just been a lot of different things happening, and by the way, the insurance doesn't work, because I went to get a prescription today and had to pay for it. I'm working on that.
It does, actually, the new card, there was some sort of fluke, you have to call or get on your regional website.
In the past, this has been worked out at the Finance Committee level.
Okay. We're getting into the discussion here.
Okay.
Just comment, because it's not on the agenda, any of this. They're bringing all this stuff up. The Finance Committee is meeting Friday, the library's on it. She will be there. We can discuss it there. Or we'll get it on the agenda to discuss all the policies of the library.
But we were given a budget by them to try to conform to. By the city.
Any other comments? Okay, then we'll go on to our city attorney, Marta Farmer.
This is report time, so, sorry. Things are moving smoothly. Work moving along smoothly. I guess we're anticipating getting Judge Minor back, you know, in the next couple of weeks or the next 3 weeks or something like that. She's supposed to be back on the August 10th, so we've got a lot of things that will hit pretty hard when she gets back that we've been setting aside. And yeah, things are just running smoothly.
The planning board, Don Ham.
We attempted to have a meeting earlier this week, but it was canceled due to lack of quorum. So our next one is August 6th, I believe it is, at 7 o'clock here in the council chambers.
Zoning commission, Raymond Graham, Russ Swan.
We will follow the same suit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. E. Truly did not meet last week. It was canceled. Next Tuesday has been postponed as well due to Director of Operations being out of office. However, before you have resolution, looks like 1414 regarding discussion the adoption of the agriculture bulk storage district known as ABS.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Don to approve resolution 1414, the bulk agriculture bulk district or storage district zoning classification.
Mr. Mayor? I have a couple of comments. This is a resolution that has come before, that's been spoken of probably over the last 3 years. There was an open hearing or a public hearing on this ABS in an earlier form, but basically the same package. And it was right at the beginning of COVID. We had 52 citizens who asked to be heard at that open hearing. And then at the very last minute, this was at the very beginning of when the governor declared a health emergency. And it was cold outside. It was in early April of 2020, I believe. And so I was given the task of reading those 52 letters. Each of those people wrote what they had to say. So I had to read those 52 letters at that open hearing. So I want the council to understand there were 52 families that came from all 4 wards that spoke against the city adopting the ABS. We had a public hearing at before the last city council meeting 2 weeks ago. No one showed up to speak in favor of the ABS. There were 4 people that showed up, and 1 person spoke for that group and spoke against adopting the ABS. The salient reasons that were given were that the things that are allowed in an agricultural bulk storage zoning area were not compatible with city. That is a zoning category that is more conducive at the county level rather than at the city level. So I hope that I have represented those 53 entities that showed up to speak against the ABS. And there we go. Thank you.
I believe most of those comments were directed towards a particular piece of property. This is not directed towards a particular piece of property. This is just a zoning classification that will go into the matrix. That's all it is.
No, they came to speak against the creation of a zoning category called agricultural bulk storage that included its permitted uses and conditional uses. It wasn't against a particular piece of property. It was against creating that zoning category within the city of Dillon.
It was created against a particular piece of property.
No,
That
it
particular piece of property has since been zoned C1. Yes, it has, but courtesy of your operation. So we appreciate that. You've been very good at gathering comments. Thank you. But this is, once again, this is just a category that's going to go on the matrix. That's all it is. It's not any particular property. You need to understand that.
Once again, I have the letters.
Yeah.
I have
If you
the
sit down and
letters.
read them, you'll find it addresses the
I
particular state
did
of
read
property.
every single one of them. I read them into the record. I stood here and read them into the record, Don.
I remember.
And I have copies at my home. They were against the creation of a zoning category called agricultural bulk storage.
As
I was
directed
here.
towards that
You
particular
weren't.
piece of property.
You were not here, Don.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
Okay. And we'll do it agreeably.
Any other comments?
Well, I might speak in favor of this ordinance. We've been working on this, as Mary Jo said, for 2-3 years. It's been quite a considerable thing. And we actually decided we needed this ordinance because Dillon is an agricultural community. Somewhere along the way, there's going to be somebody who's going to want to build a grain elevator next to the tracks. And hopefully they're inside the city limits of Dillon, so we can create a tax district to get some money out of that.
Pull your microphone down.
Oh, I'm sorry. But we did have in the beginning a quite large number of people come along and they protested this ordinance, and all of them were protesting it for 2 reasons. One of them is because they thought we was going to have Oklahoma-style explosives down there because we was going to put millions of tons of ammonium nitrate into a diesel fuel company, and someone was going to mix them together and blow the world up, which wasn't going to happen anyway. But all of them were mainly arguing against it because they thought this was going to be at the potato cellar area, which initially we did try to work a zone to make the potato cellar area happy because they have everything down there that's included in this. But in the end, the potato cellar area people decided they didn't want to be zoned this. They wanted to go with C2 because they were tired of the hassle and they just wanted to get it over with. But that being said, the city of Dillon needs some kind of guidance if somebody comes in here and wants to start a bulk storage, fuel storage area, or an elevator. We can't zone them out. I mean, we're an agricultural community. We're built on agriculture. That's going to happen in the city of Dillon. So if we don't have some kind of zoning regulations to put them in there, we're going to have to try to squeeze them into one of these other zones, which I'm sure they can find a way to squeeze it in, but it ain't going to fit. It's not going to address the grain elevators, and it's not going to address the fuel storage area. And so I think we need to pass this and have it in there in case, and I'll try to be honest with you, some of the areas I was looking at this is if there's a portion north of Dillon that they're talking about subdividing and making into different types of stuff. I can understand something out there. If you look what's going out there now, there's fencing companies going out there, there's a trucking and wrecking service going in out there. It's actually a natural place to put a grain elevator. And somewhere along the way, we need an ordinance to allow that to happen and have some kind of guidance on how it's going to happen. We don't want them coming in and building something and then say, put us into the city. Because that's what will happen. They'll end up building something next to the city, asking for our services, or having to have our services, so they'll have something built there to whatever they want. They'll be in the city with no guidance to follow them what they have to do. So I think it's important that we pass this. It may not be perfect, and going down the lane, we might find some stuff, and we're going to have to figure out a way to change it, but it's a start. It's going to give us something to look forward to and work on if the need ever arises.
Mr. Mayor, could I make
Yeah.
a comment? You know, this designation scares me a little bit, just because, and people always say, well, we're an agricultural community. And I grew up in an agricultural community. It wasn't Dillon, it was Cutbank, and I drove a grain truck to town from our farm. But grain trucks back then were much, much smaller. Agriculture has turned into this corporate machine, and the trucks are huge, the elevators are huge, everything has gone to this higher level. So, you know, and I wouldn't deny voting this classification in, but it scares me that we would, just like this potato cellar area that we were where the ABS came up with. It just frightens me that we would have put elevator or something huge in there, because already these huge trucks are tearing up our streets. And it isn't the trucks of 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Lord knows it was 50 years ago with me. But anyway, that's just my comment.
Call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to accept the resolution 1414 to adopt a bulk agricultural bulk storage district zoning classification. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so it's 5-2-3. What's that?
You better poll it.
Poll it, okay. Let's poll it. Don Hand.
Aye.
Diane Armstrong.
Aye.
Russ Swan.
Aye.
Dan Nye.
Aye.
Joe Brandon.
Nay.
Raymond Graham.
Aye.
George Johnson.
Nay.
Mary Jo O'Rourke.
Nay.
Okay. It's 5-3. It passes. Okay, Director of Operations, he is headed to a family reunion. I don't know if I know some what's going on at his office, so if you have any questions, I can try to answer.
What is the progress report on this street out here?
Oh, they're fairly well finished with all the connections are on between Glendale and Bannock Street now. They're finished on Bannock Street both ways. Once they get all the connections between Glendale and Bannock finished, they have the one last connection on Montana Street there, connecting the new main line to the Montana State main line and decommissioning the old main line that runs through town.
So they still on the goal of being done by August 22nd?
If they're not, that's when it kicks in and they start paying their penalty, or they beg for more time. So, the concrete guys were here today pouring the ADA ramp, so I hope people seen the things and didn't walk across the concrete, but they're supposed to be in next week, starting to lay curb in. And they're trying to finish this next street down with gravel tomorrow, so it'll be ready for History Days. There, I see them cleaning down there by the library and the old IGA. They're talking about paving those, so hopefully they're going to get between Glendale and Bannock walkable, so people can walk up and down for History Days.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Have you heard anything about the street sweeper? Mr. Hazelbaker said last time that it was in disrepair.
Yeah, our street sweeper, they ordered parts in it, they got it, it ran for about 2 minutes, and there's other problems with it. So we have in there, it's a reserve fund for a new street sweeper, so we're probably gonna have to start looking at it instead of throwing money into the old one.
Is there any chance, Mr. Mayor, of leasing a street sweeper for this season in an effort to try and make our streets more healthy for our citizens and to protect our stormwater runoff system as well as our sewer system? Because all those things that are on the streets are going to go in those two systems, in the stormwater and in the sewer system. And so it behooves us as a city, if we're interested in saving money, to get those streets clean. And it behooves us as a community to get those streets clean for the health of our citizens.
We'll look into it, call around, see if there's any available and the cost of them.
Didn't we have 2 street sweepers?
Mayor Clacken said we did.
Where's the other one?
I don't know for sure. I think it's out of
It
Lagoon.
seemed like the one, when they replaced the old one was still working, and they replaced it with the new one, and all they did was drive the old one out and shut the key off.
I'll talk to the
I
street
would think
department and
that-
see what they know tomorrow.
It should be, I mean, it may not be perfect, but it might be better than nothing. And I don't know if you're gonna find it, at least.
'Cause I think the old sweeper was just a sweeper.
Right,
This new one's the vacuum.
Well, the old one it swept and then it kicked everything back up. It was old style, but it did work.
I'll ask our street department tomorrow when they hear what it is and see.
And maybe it don't work a lot.
We
I have one other question. On the streets. Come Friday, if we have gravel and everything and it looks like it's gonna be dusty, could we give the city water truck to water them down?
Yep.
Just,
I think Mungus still has his water truck good down
Yeah,
now.
they just used it at 6:45 down in front of the post
Okay.
office.
We're just concerned about the dust.
And I'll try to tell them that, last thing Thursday night,
Right.
water the streets.
Yes, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
And then the status of the potholes, please.
Status potholes, they were working today. They said they burnt through a full container of the, whatever that tar was. So they won't be able to do it tomorrow because it takes like 48 hours to heat it up enough to use it again. So they filled it up before they left today and plugged it back in. So probably Friday they'll be out.
The potholes are working very well.
I know they are.
So they were on the east side somewhere today or this week. Because apparently they filled the one in front of our house up. My wife mentioned it. I drive past it twice now and I haven't recognized it. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to check. I keep on doing it. By the time we get home, I forget about it.
I have to admit, I did see them when they were down there, so I verified.
And then our college boys, 2 of them are gonna be gone. Friday's their last day. They have football starting up, so we'll lose our 2 gophers or whatever you wanna call them, run around. They've been cleaning, getting all the weeds out, doing all the little odd and end jobs that take a lot of time. That's not real hard to do, but it takes a lot of time. So they'll lose their 2 summer help people.
But sort of the crosswalks done.
Crosswalks?
It's the only thing people slow down for. That and construction.
Yep, so we'll talk to them and get when they have to wait for their emulser to reheat, those other 2 can get doing the crosswalks on the days they can't fill potholes.
Don't we, have they been the ones mowing down by the Y? The boulevard?
Yeah, the 2 college students do the weed eating. I think Jason does the mowing.
Did we lose the gal that was doing that?
Yeah, that's Lacey. She went to the county, making more money, at the county.
Mr. Mayor, could you relate that? I've heard different stories, and I want to know the truth, that she came back in April for a short amount of time and then went out on sick leave for hand surgery or something?
No, she came back, she worked. She never took time off.
Oh, okay.
But then a janitorial position at the courthouse came up, and
I'm glad I asked.
she took it, so I didn't know anything about hand surgery.
So she.
That was last year. So she
That was
actually,
last year.
she worked like 2, 3 jobs, part-time jobs. And she's, I don't know how old she is, somewhere between 45 and 60, I don't know. But she was like, I'm getting to the age where I need 1 full-time job. So, yeah, that's it.
So but she was just back for April, correct?
Yes. And that opportunity came up and she was like, 1 job, yeah, I'm gonna take that. So that's it.
The only reason I asked was that the tree board subsidizes that position, and I wanted to be able to make sure that we could say that we paid those funds to a tree person.
Is there any thoughts of rehiring somebody for that?
Todd's been in contact with Ann. Right now, thank God for the rain, I guess, it's double-edged sword. We don't need it on the road, but we need it on the trees. All the rain we've got spring, they really didn't have to go out and worry about watering all the trees they planted because of the rain, and kept on top of all the ones that needed it, and it was gonna get old Todd if we had to get out there and water them.
Because she was a worker, and
Yeah.
I think she did a great job, so. It'd be nice to have somebody who could do half of what she did.
Okay, any more questions for the Director of Operations? I'll try to channel one more. Okay, then, on to our Police Department. Chief Jeremy Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. In the package, you can find June activity report as well as the 6-month report for 2022.
Move to approve.
Second?
Been moved by Russ, seconded by Dan to approve the 2 reports from our Police Department.
Chief, are these 2 separate months?
One's a full year.
One's the full year from January 1 through June 30th, which is about a 6-month report. And the other one is just June, just for 1 month of June. 1 month in June, we had 331 calls, and for the 6 months, we had 1,670 calls.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Ellis? So how do you determine the number of police officers that a community the size of Dillon needs? You know, I mean, when we're looking at the budget, if we had maybe fewer officers, we'd be able to pay individuals more. I mean, how do you determine the number of calls? Is it by the number of calls?
That's a great question. I know that when I started, there was 8, and then there was a proposal to add 2 more based on the levy, and we were able to obtain those. We're pretty rare because we cover 24/7. If you put us up to like other cities of our same size, some of those don't cover 24/7. So there's a lot of things that are different, and I don't know that answer.
Call for the question.
Good. Question's been called for to accept the 2 reports from our Police Department. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, they pass unanimously. Any other report, Chief?
As of right now, we do have 10 full-time officers. That does include the chief and the assistant chief. We are losing one. We have one that's her last night is tonight. She's actually going to be moving on to she's going to be greatly missed. But we're going to retain her as a reserve officer. She's going to be going on to the National Guard here in Dillon as a full-time. So she gets a little bit more money, as well as a Monday through Friday day shift. Yes, straight hours. Yes. And she's also going to be a firefighter with the Dillon Fire Department. Last week we had it pretty rough. It was we had 2 guys with COVID, and we had 2 guys with planned vacation. And unfortunately, one of our other guys came to work and had a bad back, so he's been out for a couple weeks. So we've been having to go stretch thin and cover it with the remaining 4 officers, but knock on wood, we've been able to cover every shift. So far we've been good. So absolutely, that includes me working. I'll be working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as well as tomorrow. So, and our assistant chief's covering some graveyard shifts. So we're willing to jump in there and make it happen to make sure that everything is still covered, nothing changes.
Good. Let's conclude your report. We'll move on then to our fire department. Chief Posey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet, you will find the June 22 activity report. I would ask for approval of that, as well as approval for the city clerk report for the fire hall, and approval of the budget versus expenditures for the fire hall for June 2022.
Move to approve all three.
Second?
It's been moved by Russ, seconded by Dan to accept all the reports from our fire department.
Chief, what was the backyard burn? Was that like a barbecue or something?
No. That was a Sunday afternoon, I believe. I received a phone call from dispatch saying someone was burning something toxic in their backyard. So I went over and they were in fact burning coating. They had a wood stove set up in the backyard. They were burning coating off of some wire. So
The copper.
yeah. So we asked them to stop doing that. And they were very good about it. So
Why does one do that?
cleaning house, I guess, making a little bit of money. The copper, the bare copper is worth some money. The copper in coating isn't worth much.
Oh, that makes sense.
Call for question.
Okay, question's been called for by Councilman Johnston. All in favor of accepting the three reports from our fire department, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign? Okay, passes unanimously. Any other reports, Chief?
I guess I would just like to say that it's well known that every cop wants to be a firefighter. And in Dillon, it's pretty special when you have a paid cop that goes to be a volunteer firefighter. So, just putting that out there.
Chief, you been moonlighting?
That's all. Is there any questions?
Okay, on to our next item, our city court. We have no report this month. City treasurer, she is not here with no report. And our tree board, Mary Jo O'Rourke.
Yes, I just have one short comment. I was one of our members of our tree board. We both have tried to, we brought in both lists of trees that we've planted over the years on public land, which now totals over 300 trees, as well as a map, which these guys out at DNRC are really picky. They tell you exactly where the tree, you can GIS it, and so you know exactly where that tree is. And they did that because they were very concerned about the fact that we had to take out this year over 15 trees out of the cemetery. They were trees that were old and needed to come out and were so stressed that they would fall and disturb headstones. But that, for us, at least for the tree board, that's a lot of trees to remove from one location in 1 year. So the trees that we planted, those 300 trees, we really want to protect and we want to water and take care of those trees. You know, they should be watered twice a week, but even if they were watered once a week, we would have a sneaking chance of saving those trees. This is we went out and checked all of those trees and painstakingly made a list as well as the map and sent it to the city. I even brought it in, printed out, and put it on the Director of Operations desk on July 11th. And this was the letter that Tim Egan sent to the Director of Operations. Attached is a list of trees. This is back on the 11th. Attached is a list of trees that need to be watered, along with the map of where the trees are located. I watered a couple of trees on the Noble Trail today because they were wilting and dying. Those trees had totally bent over. They were like this. hopefully you can get your person to water the trees this week. It is, it's supposed to turn very hot and we need to get water on these trees. So the point I'm trying to make is that we as a community have spent some money, all that money has come from grants, but we've spent a lot of energy and time and doing backbreaking work, and we just need the city to water those trees. We don't have, they won't be here next year. We don't. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to reports of standing committees of the city council. Judiciary Committee.
No meeting, we did have a meeting yesterday. We did have a meeting yesterday, we finished up Title 13, which should be...
12.
Or 12, which should be in our next council meeting for your approval. But we have no minutes.
Finance Committee, Mr. Hand.
We are presently going 2 times a week right now on the budget. The mayor has provided us a preliminary budget. We're trying to go over it and kind of pick out some of the things where we see might be problems and asking for adjustments, little spots that we find. So there are a number of things we're working through. We haven't gone through all the wages yet. We haven't gone through a number of things. So this is not the time to get really excited. We're very preliminary stages. We're not even close to presenting it to council yet. There's no budget being presented to council at present. There's no time, no date for it to be done either. No official date for sure. We're going to hopefully get it done as soon as possible so we can present it to make deadlines as required by the state. So if anybody's really bored and wants to come listen to numbers, feel free to come on down and join us. We're meeting next
Friday.
Friday, yeah, at 9 o'clock. 1.
Friday, 9.
9, yeah, 9, go back to 9, so. Anyway, come on down and join us if you can find us. I think we'll be here. That completes my report.
Okay, Fire and Order Committee, Mr. Johnston.
No meeting, no report.
Health and Welfare Committee, Diane Armstrong.
No meeting, no report.
Cemetery Committee, Joe Brandon.
No meeting, no report.
Parks Committee, Mary Jo O'Rourke.
Our meeting was deemed illegal, but we plan to meet this month and we'll give it another shot.
City Hall Committee, Remy Graham.
No meeting, no report, but have we got any progress on the bid for our roof?
He put it out. I don't know if he's got anything back yet or not. I ask him about once a week.
So we need to get
I'll start yelling at him because we're going to be snow flying before long.
Well, we need to get some numbers so we can get more something for Don to look at. Okay, thank you.
Street and Alley Committee, Dan Nye.
No meeting, no report.
Water and Sewer Committee, Don Hand.
Well, one of the committees met and had a meeting anyways. We got minutes back from it. In your package, you see our minutes from July 12th. We ask your acceptance.
Move to accept.
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Diane to accept the minutes of the Water and Sewer Committee.
We did have a nice group of people show up, complaining about the odors were coming out of the sewer plant out here. I wandered out through there and drove around on the roads, and it was my perception that day when I was there that it is not the drying pits, but it is the sludge pond. It's causing the issue with the odoriferous smells. Jason, I know, is looking presently at some of the microbes we could add into that, hopefully shove the odor down or eliminate the odor. It's generally caused by the decay of live organisms in there, which is actually eating the other things in the water there and forming all the nutrients. Drop out the bottom. So it's a high-tech plant, it's got a number of things, it's about a third of what's being utilized, about 2/3 more capacity than what we're using. And it's a relatively new plant, one of the newer ones in the state, so we're potentially looking into the option of enlisting a hygienic engineer to see, okay, this is what we've got, what can we do to make this issue less or to go away in totality, hopefully. But we're still working on that as it comes around.
Kevin Johnson, our engineer for a street, that was his original job, is wastewater plants. I asked him if he knew of anyone. He said, yeah, that's my specialty. He went out and looked at it. He's going to give Jason some tips. You know, it's not going to cost us anything. So, look at that.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question on the fairgrounds extension. Do we have an agreement yet with the county?
Yes. I got a resolution, they're giving us $200,000 from their money. I have to finish filling out the application for the DNRC.
So that 200,000 will pay for taking the pipes around, or moving the pipes to the middle of the midway, or what does that?
It's going to be a new main line right down the center of main line, or main fairway, whatever it's called.
And what is the cost of that?
It 125, I think, because it was 101 for the materials and 24 for the engineers.
So the cost is 125,000 and they're gonna pay us 200,000?
Yes. Because it's piggybacked on the back of this project out here, so more or less they're giving us $75,000 to help us finish our project out here, which is gonna be less money we have to take out of the state revolving fund.
How about that, there was a problem with the pipes that went underneath the JC building?
Yeah, that's gonna be abandoned.
That's a 4-H building.
4-H, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That pipe's being abandoned, that's a service line. They're gonna run a new service line. According to what the contractor told me the other day at lunch.
So, and that, the city isn't paying for that part of it? Okay.
That's the customers, everywhere from the main line over to your building is all customers. Okay, I'll call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for to accept the minutes of the Water and Sewer Committee for July 12th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. The minutes passed unanimously.
That completes my report, thank you.
Okay, now our ad hoc ARPA Committee, Russ Swan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Surely we were scheduled for July 21st tomorrow, but unfortunately due to some other activities and quorum-wise, we are postponing that till August, in addition to many folks applying for ARPA funds.
Okay.
Have we got the second half of the ARPA
Yeah.
fund cut?
They're in the bank now. Okay, then on to our F, public comment of items of significant public interest not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the city.
If I may object, insert here once, August 4th is the next planning board meeting, not August 6th, previously reported, August 4th. Thank you.
Anyone want to make comments from the city?
If I might.
Yeah.
My name's Nathaniel Freeman. I own 31 East Bend, Dillon Martial Arts, professor at the college, active research and rescue member. We've been there about 5 years. I guess my wife's the director of the Early Childhood Development Center. So we're pretty engaged citizens and value Dillon quite a bit. The last time I was here, the council was gracious enough to let us borrow the above space while we got the. I'm sorry?
Is that all?
Sure, I'll talk a little bit louder. Sorry. The council was gracious enough to let us borrow this space up above while we got the martial arts school off the ground. As a result, 9 months in, we've got several state champions, 20 medals that we brought back from the last state tournament, so it's going really well at the school. We had a little hiccup recently though, where, as I absolutely sympathize with so many of the business owners in the community, but this is as a property owner. Mungas hit a main out in front of my building. And this, I'm having done a lot of this work in the past myself as both a contractor and engineer, I can tell you that I'm allergic to mold, and I would have never bought that building had a mold been an issue, that's for sure. So when I had that building inspected, I was extremely careful about making sure that that didn't have any moisture in the basement whatsoever. The inspection report shows that. When I talked to the inspector, he was very impressed about how strong that foundation wall was, and the fact that it didn't seem in 131 years to have any kind of major leaks down there. So that was a real plus for me. When they hit the main, they caused an unintentional hydro excavation channel down to my wall. It was so significant that it came up through the floor of the basement, not just through the main entrance into the building, and flooded the basement within 20 minutes. And when I say flooded, I mean several inches of water out of the basement. I happened to be down there working. I was in Missoula for training before then. Happened to come through there to pull some stuff out of the basement, saw the material down in there. I ran out, Mungas was out directly in front of my building. They thought that they would just cut the water off. They didn't realize this was an old main. Of course, there are ground penetrating radars that are used constantly for this kind of thing. I just had it done at my house, in fact, to find several old lines. So not something that's uncommon, certainly not something that was done in this particular project though. In any event, they stood out there for quite a while deciding what to do. I was obviously pretty worked up about them needing to get the main shut off immediately. I ran to my house to get some absorbent material. I came back, they were still standing in the same place. Ran down to try to plug it. There was no plugging it at this point. It was coming in way faster than any bucket could move it, that's for sure. Came back up, still standing out there. So I, of course, got a little bit heated about it and had them run and go do it right away. The supervisor, Chip Shumway, sounds good, Kip. I asked that he come by and talk to me about it because now I have this water in my basement. He did come by, told me he was going to need to get a change order with the city. I, of course, wasn't particularly happy about this because I needed it out immediately because if any mold was going to grow, I was going to have some serious problems, not just for my own health, but the fact that I got 40 kids in there. And so if mold's going to fly in there, then now all of a sudden I've got to shut down in case there's any allergen and all that kind of stuff. So eventually he did get some guys over there, cleaned it out, or at least it was a wetback situation. I got some fans blowing in there. And honestly, I probably would have let it go. Two other things I'll point out though before then that happened. On May 27th, one of my window panes fell out of the first floor of my building, or the second floor of my building. Luckily, nobody was injured during this, but that's a thing. Also, the crown of my building shifted, and I had to go back up there and put it back on. Same thing, had that fallen off, that definitely would have been a problem. I would have not necessarily attributed that to the vibration that was being caused repeatedly by using machines. In my estimation, like I said, I have done a little bit of this work myself, completely improperly in terms of the impact around historical buildings by a lot. Until I was in my building one day, having the mortar fall off of my exposed brick wall because they were pounding the street out in front of me. This also happened when they did blow the main because they had to dig quickly to get to that. Now in that particular case, Kip said, this is a one-time deal, we just needed to get to it quickly, because I said to him, hey, this is putting a lot of pressure on this building. Now my particular building, like I said, it's a really beautiful historical building. Part of the facade is brick, and a lot of people don't know just because, you know, you could never build America again with the resources that we have now. But a huge chunk of it's cast iron. And so whenever that pounding happens, obviously you can imagine the amount of weight that's on my facade, and that just driving down further and further, which I'll get to why this is a major concern for me right now. So these two things happen, this flood happens. And again, I probably would have let all this go up until this point just because I want the project done as much as anybody else does, and I'm not trying to get in the way of it making the work done. A couple weeks go by the way, I had sent the director of operations images of this and never heard anything back from the city at all about my concerns with the flooding itself. So nobody from the city offered me any assistance on taking care of this first flood. This was all something that was handled by a combination of myself and Logan. Then last week on Thursday, they started cutting, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but they started trying to pull away from the sidewalk. And when they did, it exposed the fact that the sidewalk, when it had been poured, was poured on whatever that layer was, you know, and this is the highly porous material that they poured on, and then it had sunk quite a bit, it had settled over time. It could have been settled over time. It also could be settled by extreme impact, by like say, you know, 60,000 pounds of pressure being dropped onto the street with a bucket. So as this material has settled, it's pooled, and I have plenty of images and video of all this kind of stuff. But underneath the sidewalk now, there's from 3 inches to 12 inches of a gap. Not necessarily the end of the world. I mean, it definitely means new sidewalks and that kind of stuff. But where it's a problem for me right now is, like I said, they created this unintentional hydro excavation channel to my building. Now, this water went on until I finally got them to shut off the main, which anybody who's tried to like wash or something off knows that as that sediment gets power washed off the thing, it goes down, right, and creates a void. So whatever that void was, and I've heard it could be tunnels and coal chutes and all that kind of stuff, whatever that void is where this material is settling down into the face of my building, it's settled a lot, 12 inches at least, right? So they discovered this when I walked up. I was pretty upset because, like I said, I got quite a bit of mortar falling off of my walls on the inside. Now, this is a building that, especially that first floor space, is meticulously cleaned every day by myself and my students because we're in there barefoot, and it's just a respect thing. This building's immaculate on the inside. So anything that's coming off my walls is definitely recent from some level of vibration that's happening during this process. So I was already a little bit upset about this idea. And as they were pounding, I went out to talk to the excavator, the guy running the excavator. And he told me that it wasn't his problem and that I needed to call that number on the Mungas sheet. Now, I'll admit there might have been some expletives if I left that situation, but I did call that number. I called that number several times and left messages, and nobody ever got back to me about that at all. So I'm in the building. They're cutting 10 inches away from my wall to drop this sidewalk, which is what they should do, for sure. What they shouldn't do, though, is come back with that excavator and drop 60,000 pounds of pressure in front of a historical building that's 131 years old and not expect to collapse that building into a void that is clearly there at the center of the building. So, in this process of discussion, trying to get this clear, I asked and Mr. Mayor was there, Director of Operations, the supervisor from Mungas was there, whether or not there had ever been any structural analysis done on these buildings. And he said no. They've never looked at the impact of how it is that they're approaching this street project in terms of the pressure that's being put on these buildings. Now, these are buildings with brick that's so soft that if we were to power wash these, we would cut the bricks in half. So I'm not sure, I'm not a rocket scientist or anything, but I'm pretty sure that the amount of pressure that's shaking mirrors off the wall down here at the coffee shop and knocking window panes out of my building, I'm pretty sure that pressure is enough to disturb a foundation, and certainly the brick walls that surround the building. So then on Friday, they leave all this open, right? They leave these holes in the sidewalk because they're going to come back and put in new sidewalks. Like I said, they should. I mean, this is great that the city's doing this, and I'm not sure if I'm sure it's costing way more money than the project was intended to find all this stuff, and so We appreciate it for sure as citizens, but they left it open when they did this. Then we had that storm come through. The entire street drained into my basement and created a far more aggressive flooding than was there the first time that this happened. Now, in this particular case, there was no mud gas to help me out, so that's how I spent my weekend, was cleaning out the basement for a second time in a process that, like I said, is not a great thing for me to be exposed to from this kind of work before. So again, when that excavator operator told me that it wasn't his problem, I do want to know whose problem it is, because right now it's mine. Now I've got $1,000 that I just paid to my insurance company so that I can put a claim in for the water damage, the mold remediation. I managed to retain a structural engineer services, legal counsel, all these things that I asked the city at that meeting on Monday. What are we going to do about this? This is a serious issue for me. Understand that I'm a property owner and a good citizen of this community, and there's damage to my property. And I didn't do it, and the people you hired did. Are we scared of them? Is that the problem? Because my council's not. So I'll tell you this, I'm concerned deeply at this point. There's a solid chance that I'm going to have to shut the school down while they do the remediation. I got parents that are counting on these camps. They're already coming in the back door. It's ridiculous, right? They're scared to walk down the sidewalk because it's crazy land down there. I don't know if you spend any time at 10 o'clock at night down there on Bannock, but it is no man's land down there right now. So it's a concern. The whole process is a concern for me. Mr. Mayor, you said you were going to get back to me today. I haven't had that phone call yet, so I'm hoping that we're going to have some kind of conclusion. I've asked Kip several times, what is going on? What is the engineer going to do about this process? How are we going to find out what's going on? No answers at all. It's been 3 days since I asked that question. Now, in those 3 days, I managed to get a structural engineer, mold remediation, file a claim myself, then get legal counsel. So I'm positive that something can happen in those 3 days that went by when I asked that question, with more evidence than you can imagine. I gave a presentation to all those people, showed them the water pouring in through my walls, showed them the sediment beneath the mortar coming off my walls. There's no doubt what's going on here. The engineer himself had nothing to say about any of this. There was no dispute about any of these claims that I'm making. I have my comments there.
Nathan, is that water coming through the walls or through cracks in the walls?
No, sir, it's coming up through the bottom where the foundation sits on the floor. That's one major input. The other is where the main comes in to the wall.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I actually do. Could we get your council's information? Because now that you've advised us that you're retained, we cannot interact directly with you, sir. So you'll need to provide, if you could provide me with your attorney's information.
That's my personal attorney. There's nothing.
I can't.
Do you have a personal attorney?
Excuse me?
Do you have a personal
That's
attorney?
none of your business.
It's just like it's none of your business whether I do have
Well,
a
I
personal
can't interact with a representative person. So we can't interact directly with you now that you've advised us that you've retained counsel. It's not anything against you. That's our ethical duty. So if you have truly retained counsel, that's who we have to communicate with.
Okay.
That's fine.
I have yet to sign a contract with them, so we can talk at length right now.
Thank you.
But they did contact me, so there's that. Did you doubt that? You're rolling your eyes. Did you doubt that they contacted
Sorry,
me?
my contacts.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Chief. My name is Ron Carroll. I own Emporium 406. I've been before you several times before. As I stated previously, I'll continue to come and speak to you. I just want to make 2 points. One is Idaho Street now, the block directly in front of my business, has been closed now for 13 weeks, 13 consecutive weeks. Mr. Mayor, you talked about beginning to assess fines on August 22nd if that paving is not done. You don't have to wait till August 22nd. Mungus Construction, Dow Inc. have already breached that contract. As I've stated before, I've read all 420 pages, and it's my opinion in doing so that they've already breached it, and I had previously identified 3 reasons why I felt they had. So I hope that even if they get it paved by August 22nd, that they're not off the hook. I am now down 68% of where I should be right now with my business. By the end of this month, I estimate I'll be over 70% down from where I should be. Peak tourism. This is the one thing that we didn't want to have happen, and you've all let it happen. You may not agree with that, but you're the ones that allowed it to happen. And I feel that you have abandoned me as a citizen of Dillon, as a business owner. And I want to come here and let you know that. My question to you is, who's going to help the businesses that have felt this devastating impact? Somebody, please answer. Nobody. Thank you.
Debbie Sporich. I own the bookstore, and 13 weeks. We were told that there would be access, that there would not be the maze of streets. Today, obviously, they couldn't, a lot of people couldn't walk up those sidewalks because they are doing the ADA. This is all great, it's all needed. My customers also could not get in my back door today because both ends of that alley were closed as well. So something has to happen. When you've got 13 weeks and we have lost revenue every single day, we don't know what to do. We're trying to be patient, and we are saying to our customers, we're going to have great water lines when this is done. We hope. But at this point, and I've told you before, I'm doing home deliveries. I'm meeting people at different places. I even mailed a book to someone that couldn't get to us that lives in Twin Bridges. She says, Debbie, I came down there. Today we had someone say they decided to make it an adventure. And ultimately, they had oxygen on their back when they parked at the museum. And when they got down there, she called, she says, Debbie, I can't step up on top of that sidewalk. So I'm hoping that you understand, History Days this weekend, it's gonna give us a boost, but it's not gonna save us. And so if there can be gravel out here and some dust abatement once in a while, that would be really great to see some effort. Because right now, we're tired. 13 weeks on that one block in Idaho Street. So, thank you.
Lori Kennedy, I just wanted to inform you that I was walking from, this was a couple weeks ago when you still had this hole right here. I was walking from the library down to City Hall, and the workers order food from our local community, which is great, but they're throwing their trash down. They're not cleaning it up. And so when I came in, I noticed in your big circular, whatever it is that you shoved in the road, had a bunch of trash. I guess it was the water line. Had a bunch of trash. Cups, looked like coffee cups, things like that. Those are things that are not biodegradable. So I came into City Hall and I said, hey, we had a huge rainstorm. I don't know if that's what blew it in and they just left their garbage down on the ground or what they were doing, but there is trash in that. If you close that up and you run water, it's going to plug up your system and you're going to have to dig that all back up and redo it. And I was told, well, we'll take care of it, and that was it. I don't know that it was ever cleaned up, but a block later, the same thing had happened. They had had pizza from Stage On and left the box. So I don't know, like, I don't know. I just feel they probably should supervise it a little bit better because we're gonna end up digging up the streets again to refix those if there's still trash down in there. It will not dissolve.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to make the council aware that a former treasurer of the city, Joe Lane, who served as our treasurer for more than 20 years, and who passed away, and his wife passed away during COVID. And so they will be having a memorial service for Joe and Eileen Lane. It's more a memorial celebration. And it will be at the brewery this coming Saturday from 3 till 8, I guess, or 7, whenever the brewery closed. And all the proceeds from that event will go to charities. But we'll all meet and tell the funniest stories we can think of about Joe Lane.
Mayor, I would like to request that Mungus and Al be here at their next council meeting to answer some of these questions and allegations of there was urination out in the street and there's now trash being thrown around. Snide remarks about women walking the street or getting in and out of their cars. They need to be talked to about this.
Okay, we'll get with them and all
Because
this.
if they can't clean up their act, we need to do something about it.
Gerald Penn, I requested a transcript of the June 24th meeting with the library. I got the written transcript, which is basic, which I understand. I requested a voice recording of it, and I'm told that was lost. I'm asking you if you guys found it yet.
Yes, it's on Zoom.
I haven't received it.
No, I know, it's still on my desk.
Can you send it to me, please?
I can, I just haven't gotten to it yet, sorry. I have other things going.
Hey, Spencer. Almost like you get up here and you can talk after all the situations going on in the city.
There you go.
My name's Hank Buncer. I almost hate to bring any of this up at the moment with everyone else having problems with the city. But we have a situation with Mary Jane O'Rourke that had reported to the police several times. Stalking the place of business, photographing and reporting us, and just trying to create problems. And we've had the police over there, they've looked at everything, there's no issues. It's just an issue of poking at an individual. And I don't think that for a public official, that's not a proper thing to do. You know, I brought this issue up before the council, and it's still continuing. I don't know what disciplinary action can be done, or she just wants to cut it out. That's Mary Jane O'Rourke, and you guys need to consider the implications that can happen going forward if she continues. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, my name is Mary Jo O'Rourke.
Evening, my name is Craig Betty. I'm with Hank. I observed several times with a vehicle. I'll just read that. I sent this to Dillon Police. It has been documented that a vehicle driving through the alley behind Dillon Appliance is registered and occupied by Mary Jo O'Rourke. The most recent drive-by started on June 24th at approximately 2:30 p.m. O'Rourke was documented driving south through the alleyway. She stopped, took several pictures, and back of the building. On June 28th, at approximately 2:05 p.m., it was documented that Ms. O'Rourke drove north slowly through the alleyway behind Dillon Appliance again. On July 9th, at approximately 8:30 p.m., it was documented that O'Rourke drove north through the alleyway behind Dillon Appliance again. Once again, I'm looking at stalking, casing the place, whatever. On July 12th, I received a call from Chief of Police Alvarez that an anonymous person called in, complained regarding appliances in the back of the building. The complaint stated that kids could get locked in the appliances that were out there. It has been stated in the past that, one, if kids are playing or any authorized persons are in the back, they are trespassing. Two, no current standard appliance is made with locking mechanisms. And three, there is none of the set appliances that lock people in. This is not the first time that O'Rourke has singled out Dillon Appliance or Hank Brunswick. She made complaints during the spring, summer of 21 to the city and city council. Today, when I wrote this, July 13th, Mary Jo O'Rourke was seen documented by myself and Hank driving slowly north through the alleyway of Dillon Appliance approximately 11:50 a.m. When she reached the alleyway on Glendale, she turned west on Glendale. We feel at this time Mary Jo O'Rourke is casing the place, stalking and or harassing the business. These actions are not proper conduct of an elected city personnel and should be dealt with appropriately in disciplinary actions. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I was in the swimming pool at 11:15 this morning.
Excuse me, can you say it again?
I was in the swimming pool at the Y, amongst,
Could you give me a date and time?
huh?
Could you give me a date and time?
No, you were talking about me doing something this morning. I was
No. Okay, no discussion.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I can supply all the documentation that I.
You said July 13th,
Right.
and that's when you wrote the letter.
Yes.
Not today, July 13th.
Oh, yes, when I wrote this to Alvarez, it was on 13th. So what, you weren't today, so, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned at 8:47.